Hi and welcome to a little bit of attention that is going to be given to Flux, the NB2. Sadly, this isn't a modification or an upgrade, it's rather just maintenance and repair. This one decided it's going to throw a check engine light, and it threw out a P0037 code, which is the downstream O2 sensor. Gonna set about trying to rectify it myself. Now, finding this O2 sensor has been rather tough, but we managed to track one down through diesel electric. The only niggle is it does not have the connector plug, which means we're going to have to repin and use the old plug. I'm hoping that this isn't going to be too tough. Let me see if I can tackle it with, well, the tools that I have. We're going to need to jack the vehicle up, get in underneath it, undo that O2, that's where I think I need some special tools, trace that wire which connects inside the car and get the old O2 sensor out. It's a lambda sensor, it's a narrow band, it shouldn't be too expensive either, and I managed to pick one up for about 1,200 Rand. As I say, without the connector plug, well, that's not the end of the world either. Yeah, and then I need to find that plug on the inside, and that's challenging, let's put it that way. Anyway, let's get it up in the air, let's see if we can tackle it. Hi, you joined me under the car. Fun times. Okay, let's take a look here. There we have the catalytic converter. And that runs all the way to over here. I've got this union over here, but let's swing things around, and that is what we're looking for. That is the downstream O2 sensor, and it's connected by this cable that runs, well, this is not going to be convenient, into over there. Alright, so I need to get that one out, and that doesn't look like it should be too difficult, but let me also just check that it matches with what I've got in the box. Okay, interesting, fun times. May not be too difficult, but those are also famous last words. This is the new O2 sensor, lambda sensor. Straight off the bat, this is considerably thicker than the one that I just showed you. I see that there is, well, some electrical hardware there. Okay, but I think let's get the old one out and then we can take it from there. Unfortunately, this requires a spanner larger than what I have, so it's shifting time. And this isn't the ideal angle to be removing it with either. Okay. That of course cycles a lot of heat, which means that it's not going to enjoy coming out. Man, I really don't want to remove subframes or have to drop the exhaust. So trip. Wasn't able to get it off with the exhaust in place. So we're removing bracing. Let's get in under there. We've undone the exhaust, and if we come around, well, yeah, the entire back half of the exhaust is coming off. So that's where we're at. So instead, our next task is going to involve removing the passenger seat and undoing that plug, because we can't remove the exhaust because, well, that's wired into the ECU via. So, passenger seat out. There we go, that's easy enough. Most difficult part of removing the seat was actually just undoing the clip for the heated seats. And then of course, there's all the fun stuff that you find in the back here. Thankfully, I do keep this car relatively clean. Alright, that plug is situated behind there. So let's, it's behind there. Let's get this panel off, pull that up, disconnect, push that out, and then get the exhaust off. Alright, so if we go in behind here, there we can see where it comes through the transmission tunnel. And right over there, there's our plug. So we don't need to remove the entire console here. We just need to fold that up, clip it out of the way, and then just pull the carpet back a little bit. And let's undo this plug. Alright, I'm going to fiddle with that, and we'll be back in a bit. Righto, so the plug's undone, and now let's just get this grommet through this firewall. Bye-bye. I am now going to try and remove the back half of the exhaust, the cat back section, without dropping the subframe. I've got a sneaky suspicion this is not going to go as smooth as I think it will. Yeah, so there's no way that that's happening. Because of the bend, I can't get the entire rear back box high enough up to clear the cross braces. I can try and remove that and then rotate the entire exhaust, giving me more space, but then it's still stuck in under the car and I don't have the leverage that I truly need. This one's going to be fun. Yeah, so back box is out. In under here. Hello, Mr. Duff. Hello, straight pipe. There really is a part of me that's tempted to get in here and clean while it's like this. But what I'm hoping now is that I can actually just rotate this sufficiently to get to the Lambda, the O2 in the front there. Man, what a chore. It was supposed to be one bolt. I nearly removed the whole subframe. 4, 5, 6. So even with all of that, I still had to go out and buy tools, a 22mm spanner. But I'm a guy, so I don't mind buying tools. It's kind of cool. Either way, that gets on there, and that undoes what needs to be undone. Happy days, so much easier. All right, I need to get this bracket off here. Let's tackle that. So we've gotten it out, but that does not look like that. It's not identical. This was the part number. The thing is, it should, in theory, still work. So, using Bosch's instructions and this connector, we've managed to get the new one wired up and not even having to re-pin. We're using a section of the old harness, and we trimmed back the Bosch one. Of course, we're wanting the resistance across all the wires to be the same as well. So it is pretty much the same length. We measured it out, grommets in the right place, clamps in the right place. So now that one technically should just plug in. This is going to sit inside the cabin, so we don't need to worry about that too much either. Wish me luck. Right, so I wasn't going to subject you to what is essentially the reverse of removal, as Haynes would say it. So got it back in, fed it through, it's plugged in, got the grommet in, got that little bracket on the exhaust to hold the wire out of place, got that back in. But now, of course, I've separated some of the exhaust joints, so I'm just going to take a quick wire brush to those surfaces, the faces of those, put a bit of sealant on there, and then put this exhaust back, as well as all the cross frames. So that's what needs to be done next. Essentially, that's it. But because it's in the cat back section of the exhaust, I can't start the car up and check that the error code's gone away. I first need to do this. So let me tackle that. So I've got the center section back in. When I say the center section, it is a section from the catalytic converter back to the rear muffler. Now that is the one that has the O2 sensor, the oxygen sensor, or the lambda sensor in it. So now that there isn't a leak between the header, the cat, and then the O2 sensor, I can actually fire it up. I don't have the rear muffler on, so it also allows me to be 5 years old and hear what my car sounds like straight piped. Why the hell not? So that hasn't gone according to plan because I still have a check engine light. I'm going to disconnect the battery, clear those codes, and see if it goes away then. Right, so just taken it out for a drive. I disconnected the battery, left it for a little while to discharge the capacitors, reconnected the battery, and then fired it up. It sounds great without that rear box on it, and I took it for a drive, and the check engine light is gone. Problem rectified. So, it did turn out to be more work than what I anticipated. I really did expect to be getting in under there, having it fairly accessible, and just having to loosen it, thread it out through the cabin. I knew I was going to have to remove the passenger seat, but that's not the end of the world. That was part of, well, sort of the easiest job. What I had to do was I had to make sure I had the right spanner. It is a 22mm, and once I just had an open end on there, but with enough leverage and at the right angle, then I could loosen it. It gets cycles heat so often that it really does get, well, wedged in there. It really is tight. And not having the room to work was a little tricky, and that resulted in me removing sections of the exhaust just so that I could have room to work with. So it was, well, it took considerably longer than what I anticipated, but now I know. Just going to clean up that rear back box section, bolt that in, put it on the hangers, and then we should be good to go. Oh yes, and the passenger seat. Somebody's going to want to drive with me sooner or later. Anyway, that's it. It cost me 1,200 Rand approximately for the Bosch sensor. As much as it doesn't look the same as the old sensor, it seems to be doing the job. The instructions were a little tricky, but we managed to repin it, or at least connect it using the supplied connector and use the original plug that plugs into the harness. So that's fantastic. That, a little tricky, but not the end of the world, not too difficult. It was really just getting the exhaust off that was the tough bit. I did have to go out and buy a few spanners, and I got some exhaust sealant. That was 18 Rand, and the spanner itself was 45 Rand, just a single once off. And now I've got it in the toolbox for later. I did get a 20 and a 21 as well, just to make sure that I had my bases covered. Turned out it was the 22. I also got a socket, a 22mm socket that I was prepared to sacrifice in order to make a tool if need be. But I've now got them on hand. They will come in handy somewhere down the line. So let me get this back box back on and that passenger seat back in. But thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've learned something. Ta-ra.